Cool. So we're doing chapter 1 today. I'm only doing 2 of the Mishnahs in this, so won't be a lot of reading, but we'll really try and unpack what these 2 Mishnahs say. So Ryan gave us introduction last week, and we got the introduction to the Men of the Great Assembly, so I'm just going to dive straight in. And I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible. We'll see how we go with technology, so bear with us. We may adapt halfway through. So I'll be looking at Mishnah 2 and Mishnah 18 of chapter 1. And the reason I chose these ones is I feel as though that these particular Mishnahs at the moment are pretty relevant to our current situation, given not just the COVID-19 thing, but just the world we live in at the moment. And as per usual, it's been something that God has been challenging me on lately as well. So it's just as much for me it is for you. So yeah. So looking at Mishnah 2, and I can read that out. It's not a long one. Shimon the Tzaddik, who was one of the last surviving members of the Great Assembly, says, "The world stands on 3 things: Torah, worship, and kindness." So this Mishnah is about how to keep order in this world, and especially and particularly for us, how to keep order in a time of chaos. The rabbis and the scholars talk about this particular Mishnah as an example of a 3-legged stool, so 3 separate points that keep the top of the stool steady and the person sitting steady as well. So Shimon talks about how stability requires 3 things: instruction and law, loving worship to God, and loving kindness to others. So if these 3 things are what keep us steady in a chaotic time, what exactly are they? I feel at this point we probably don't need to unpack what the Torah is too much, because I feel like we should have a pretty good understanding of that. But I'll go over the obvious, that it's God's instruction, His law, its character studies of saints and those who didn't quite make it as far, and the reasons why. It's all those things, the first 5 books of the Bible, plus more, including the Oral Torah as well. So what we're doing today.
So you mean like Nadab and Abihu, why they didn't quite make it, or why they made it too early?
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's actually that what happened to them sort of ties into what I'm talking about at the end, so it's good. So yeah, that's the Torah. Has anyone else got anything to add to that, or are we okay with the definition of the Torah?
I'm fine with that.
All good?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
So then I'll go to my first plain question, which is what is worship? And this is where I'm going to get some interaction, hopefully, and just get you guys sort of pitch in and see what you think worship is, and you have a discussion. I do have answers as well, so yeah.
I won't put those answers up yet.
What is worship?
Yes.
I've seen them, so it's not fair. Somebody else.
Do you want us to answer that now?
Yes, please.
Go for it. Get some discussion going, if you guys want to.
I'm going to be a real Pentecostal. It's singing songs.
Hey, listen, it is part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's part of it, definitely.
I guess from a
Lifting up your heart.
Yes.
Hebrew word study is service is a direct kind of translation of it as to serve something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
So, yeah.
So what Nadab and Abihu were doing, that was worship?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not perfect worship, but definitely a type of worship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Devotion to God is worship, being devoted.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's ticking all my answers already. So,
Okay.
So is our outworking of the mitzvah, that's a form of worship,
Definitely.
right?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Given that we looking at our heart attitude when we're doing it, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lillian, what was that? Sorry.
I said devotion to God.
Yes, yeah, definitely devotion. Act of selfless worship. Yes. Yeah, it's good.
Giving honour to whom it is due.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, honor. So respect and honor and glorifying the one who deserves, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I like that. The whole aspect of reverential fear of God, but not so much that you don't want to draw near to him, but you still respect him for who he is.
Yeah, definitely that healthy balance. Yeah.
I think it's at that time when you do the very difficult thing and put the whole world aside, and you only have one person ahead of you, and that's God.
Yeah.
But putting the world aside and not having those thoughts come into your worship is extremely difficult. I think.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a really good answer. Something that's very poignant, I think, for now as well, when there is so much happening constantly. Every day there's a new update of what's happening. So it's that moment where you're like, it's just me and God, which is something that I think I struggle with at times. So it's something that I've been challenged on as well. So good answer.
I think you're not the only one there, Daniel.
No.
No, we all have short attention spans.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also find it's a time when Satan likes to intervene.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all feel like that too, but he'll bring in thoughts to you that you should never think of.
Yeah.
Valid.
Uh,
Yeah. Challenging too with my own evil inclination. You know, it's like, sometimes quite shocking and disappointing. Yeah, but by the same token, when you begin to recognize where those thoughts come from, you can harness them, hey, and just say, wait a minute, I'm going to get these thoughts, my thoughts captive to the one to whom I'm paying homage to right
Rub
now.
them in.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like that. The idea of the animal, it can either go kicking and screaming, or if you get the right way of embracing it, it can go dumbly to the altar. Just depends.
Yeah.
how you angle it.
I think about it in a fashion like every move you make, every step you take, you relate every thought back to how would God have you do that.
Yeah.
That helps.
It's the constant,
That's a
Sounds
song
like
too,
I was
Lillian.
going to say.
yeah, you're constantly trying to please him.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like that song.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. Really good answers, and I'm glad you're all on the same page I am. That's encouraging to me.
Do you want me to change the page, Daniel?
Yeah, I may as well go to the answer, what my answer was. So I'll read Romans 12:1-2, because that's my basis for this answer. I exhort you, therefore, brothers, in the view of God's mercies, to offer yourselves a sacrifice, living and set apart for God. This will please him, and it is the logical temple worship for you. In other words, do not let yourselves be conformed to the standards of the world. Instead, keep letting yourselves be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you will know what God wants and will agree that what he wants is good, satisfying, and able to succeed. So going by that definition of worship, it is the study of Torah, which brings about the renewing of the mind. The temple sacrifice, which includes the ulah, which is, as we talked about in a few Shabbats ago, is the complete complete giving of yourself without any desire for return. So it's complete sacrifice. And it's the prayers, which happen in absent of or alongside the temple worship. And that's those moments where you're between just you and God, that one-on-one sort of thing. But ultimately, yes, it's all those things, but it's the heart that honors God. So it's that the moments where you're choosing to be obedient to God, to want to honor him, to want to be closer to him, to want to do what's right by him and be obedient to his Torah. So it comes down to, I suppose, to Torah observance, and then taking that and wanting to get closer to God. So that's what my definition of worship is for the sake of this particular study. Of course, there's probably a wider definition as well, but that's the one we're using. So, cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Nan?
I think that lines up with the intention of Pirkei Avot as well. Anyway, so
Yeah, definitely.
mm.
So that's those two of the pillars. We got the Torah and worship, and the third one is loving kindness. And the Jewish word for loving kindness is gimilet hasadim, which is basically characterized as undeserving or unconditional act of kindness. So it's different to the kind of kindness you show someone that you know and that you already have respect for, because you want to do something for them because you respect them. This is a kindness that you give regardless of how you see the other person, whether you know them or not, whether you think they deserve it or not, whether or not they are going to return that kindness to you. It goes back to being it's a complete act of self-sacrifice in your actions and your deeds. So these three things is what Shimon says is what keeps us stable in a time of chaos. Even in time of peace is what keeps us stable as well. It's that constant. So my next question is, someone wants to read Matthew 22:36-40, and someone else wants to, actually I don't know if someone wants to find Proverbs 8:32-36. We'll give those a read, then we'll discuss how it relates to this Mishnah that we just talked about.
What I'm doing here.
Matthew 22.
So I've got Matthew 22:36 if you want me to read it.
Yep. Yeah, go for it.
Rabbi, which is the greatest mitzvah in the Torah? 240, sorry. Yeshua said to him, love Hashem your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your knowledge. This is the greatest and first mitzvah, but the second is similar to it. Love your fellow as yourself. The entire Torah and the prophets hang on these two mitzvah. Mitzvah.
Yep.
If someone's got Proverbs 8:32-36.
I have.
Thanks.
Therefore, children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and grow wise. Do not refuse it. How happy the person who listens to me, who watches daily at my gates and waits outside my doors. For he who finds me finds life and obtains the favor of Adonai. But he who misses me harms himself. All who hate me love death.
Thank you. So with those two scriptures in mind, how does this relate to our Mishnah, or Mishnah 2? Oh, I'm asking a question. Sorry. Should have clarified that.
Oh,
No, that's okay. But I want to read the Mishnah 2 just to get my head around it again.
Yeah, go for it. If you need to read it again, sort of get your head around what.
is it that
So-
little one there, Shimon?
The second one, yeah, Mishnah 2.
It's kind of summed up in Matthew,
Yes.
where it says, love your fellow man as yourself, and the entire Torah and the prophets hang on these two mitzvah. Kind of mimics the same language, like the world stands on these three things, and they're kind of based on the same elements.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, so because you can split like those three acts to two separate categories if you wanted to. Torah and worship obviously is God, but then Torah and kindness is obviously an act to another. So you can split it into separate ways of existing, which complement each other as well.
Yeah. So with Proverbs, the chapter 8, verse 34 says, how happy is the person who listens to me, who watches daily at my gates and waits outside my doors. For he who finds me finds life and obtains the favor of Adonai.
Mm.
Okay. So that could mean a multitude of things. I mean, yes, the instruction, we're waiting at the gates of instruction, but could also be we're waiting outside for someone to pass by that we can do Gimelut Hasadim for. And by doing that, we find life.
Yeah, that's a good answer, and one that I hadn't even thought of. So it's interesting. Nice.
Because wouldn't the people that came for alms, the poor, they would come to the gates
That's true.
begging, wouldn't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they would. Yes.
Yeah, that's it's very Abrahamic. The idea that like while you're at your tent with God, you're still there, sort of observing for when a stranger passes by, so that you can offer love and kindness to them as well, and an act of worship.
That's true. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And I mean,
that's
that's
good.
what Abraham was. Oh, sorry, Shani, go on.
No, I was thinking the same thing when Daniel said it. Abraham he was waiting for someone to pass by
That's
Yeah.
right.
to grab them, and yeah.
Yeah.
And even though he was in pain, he still got up to serve.
True. Yeah.
On that particular day, yeah.
And then in 32, it talks about Torah instruction.
Yeah.
I've lost it now.
32, 33.
Yeah, happy are those who keep
Yeah.
my ways, hear my instruction, grow wise.
So there's Torah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the listening to Torah and obeying it brings a sense of satisfaction and a sense of well-being. And obviously, we read the opposite brings about chaos and destruction. And yeah, all those things that we try to avoid.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's happening around us at the moment.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It
Next
brings
slide.
life and gives us favor, it just
Yeah.
says. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And all who hate me love death.
Yeah. So there's another scripture that I'm just going to read out quickly. If I find it, just bear with me for a sec. So Micah, Micah 6:8. Just flip to it. Micah 6:8. Human beings, you have already been told what is good, what Adonai demands of you, no more than to act justly, love grace, and walk in purity with your God. So I think, I just had that one there, so we just drive home the point that God's already told us how to live a life that is in worship and a life that is just and right. It's all in His Torah, so it's just the idea of listening and obeying. That brings us to that place. So that was Mishnah 2. Now we're going to look at Mishnah 18, which is the last one of chapter 1. Yeah. Cool. Is everyone good for me to read it?
No. Yes, thank you.
Cool. Mishnah 18. Rabbi Shimon, son of Gamliel, says, the world endures on 3 things, justice, truth, and peace. Like it says in Zechariah 8:16, administer truth and the justice of peace at your gates. So if Mishnah 2 was about how to keep order in this world, Mishnah 18 is about how to maintain stability. So how to endure in that order that you've created or God has created with you. So Rabbi Shimon is talking about how order is maintained. So let me start again. In order to maintain stability, the world requires 3 things: fair administration of law, instruction, true understanding of God and His ways, and peaceful engagement. Which brings me to my next question. What is peace? How do you guys think that's defined, especially in this context of relationship with God and then relationship with others? So relational peace.
Big questions.
Sorry.
What is peace?
Well, I could throw the Hebrew at you and say that peace is shalom, and shalom is the absence of chaos is actually destroying chaos in a way, isn't it?
It disarms chaos.
Disarms chaos, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Especially considering the context of this is about creating order rather than...
Right. Yeah.
So it's about getting on top of chaos before it actually gets out of hand.
Nice.
So being proactive, yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Peace to me is remaining in the will of God.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that would be godly order. Yeah, I can see that. Sure.
Yeah, so keeping in step with God so that when God walks, we're walking alongside him and he's the one leading the way. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Good answer.
Somehow, for me to sustain a peaceful attitude requires for me to be submissive and not allow my own evil inclination to be the one that has the voice.
Yeah. No, that's good.
It's when the blood pressure of your soul is absolutely normal.
You're not talking about flatlining, are you? Just normal.
I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely the absence of conflict with your neighbor, other people, yeah.
Yep.
No. Yeah. And as Marie says, conflict with yourself as well. I think that's what you're trying to say, because
that's
conflict with yourself comes when you give into that that voice that is pushing you the other way, and because that's what Rab Shaul says. I do the things I don't want to do, and I don't do the things I want to do. It's that's a conflict when you're listening to the evil inclination.
What I was saying, it requires a sacrificial element on my behalf. If I want to allow peace to be the one that is established, you have to submit to it. You have to desire for it to be the one that's in control.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely of shifting of where you set your goals, sort of thing, or where you put your priorities. Cool. I like those answers. My answer is similar to that. That encompasses more than I actually had, so that's really good. But my answer comes from hang on, I just did something on my screen. Bear with me for a sec.
Have I got the right slide up here?
Yeah, you got the right slide up. My camera thing just went weird. I'm good now.
Right.
So my actually, yeah, good. Is that the answer one, or is that the next one? Oh no, that's the one. Yeah, all good. Yes. No, actually, sorry, the next one. My bad. Yep, sure. That's the one. So, in looking at this Mishnah 18, I read a commentary by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which was interesting. And I'll just summarize it. But the Rebbe talked about how the Torah, and this is a long way to get to the idea of peace, so bear with me for a sec. The Torah is defined by the number 3. So there's 3 different sections of the Torah. There's 3 different sections of the Torah. So you got the prophets, the Torah, and the scriptures. 3 different identities in the Torah. So you got divine attribution, harmony, and supernal sephirot, which is another thing. And you've also got the 3 classifications of Israelites, so the Cohen, the Levites, and the Israel. So the Torah 3 is pretty prominent in amongst it all. So then he says that 3 equals the Torah, and the Torah is a book of peace. Therefore, 3 is the number of peace. So going from one to another, 3 equals peace. And this is the reason why. To have peace in a circumstance, you need 3 things: 2 parties, and then 1 thing to agree on. It can either be a shared goal or a shared compromise, but you need those 3 elements. So if that might be in regards to human relation, that might be us, we're living in peace because we have a shared goal of seeing the kingdom of Messiah come about. That might be in a human relational context. Me and a colleague who have different ways of seeing how we should do a task, but then coming to a compromise and saying, all right, we're going to do it in a way that meets both our needs so that we can reach the goal. That's in relation to humans. Of course, in relation to God and ourselves, it's us agreeing with God and his ways, or even sometimes us having an argument or discussion of God saying, why is this so, until, like Moses, until God decides not to kill the people of Israel, or until like Abraham realizes that even if he wanted to help the 2 cities, God still was God, and
Sodom and Gomorrah,
Sodom and Gomorrah, and nothing you could do. But even in those situations, a peace was still found for his relative. My mind's gone blank.
Yeah, his relative, his nephew, Lot.
Oh, Lot. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So even peace was found for Lot in that circumstance. So that's how I'm defining peace in this situation. It's 2 parties and 1 goal or compromise, and then reaching that and coming to a sense of understanding. And that's particularly It's particularly poignant for us as disciples of Yeshua, as there's 2 parties. There's us as Gentiles, especially as Gentiles, but not just as Gentiles, and there's God, who is all righteous and has already established his covenant with his people, and then there's Yeshua, who's the 3rd party for us, who is the one who brings peace and is our shared link, and is the reason we're grafted into the Commonwealth of Israel. So he's our common factor between us and Adonai. His death and his resurrection are the thing that we both sort of, to start with at least, we both agree on that happens,
awesome.
so that we can come closer, and then we draw to a common goal with God as Gentiles who grafted in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, good.
Thanks. So we've covered peace, and we've covered peace so far. So the next question is, sorry, there are a lot of questions, so bear with me. What is justice? Fixing all the world's problems today.
What is justice?
Justice in my eyes or somebody else's eyes?
That's which angle you're looking at it.
Well, probably
Is
start
the moral law
in
or
God's
ethics?
sense. Sorry, what was that?
Moral law and ethics, is that what justice is about keeping?
It's part of it, definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
Could justice be when all parties are totally satisfied?
maybe, yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Would justice be when both parties or all parties are totally satisfied with the result?
In some occasions, yeah. I wouldn't put that as a blanket for all positions of justice, but sometimes that is the just decision to be made.
When a wrong is corrected?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines too, Lynn. I was thinking a fair ruling.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I think justice is when God's objective is achieved.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Comes from someone who works in the legal department. Thanks.
Yeah.
But you don't get that in the law.
I was just thinking that justice is not always served.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. Well, justice is, there's different ways you can look at justice. There's a just act of discipline, and there's a just act of loving kindness. So definitely not always what we assume or think is fair, but definitely always right in the eyes of God.
Yes,
Yeah,
thanks, Daniel. I was going to say it may not always seem like justice is served, but in Hashem's circumstance, justice is always served, whether it's taken out on the people that deserve it or whether it's taken out on one who didn't deserve it. Justice still had to be done.
Because he is a just judge.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answers. Again, sort of peeking at my notes a little bit, which is fine with me. So for justice, I've put that justice is righteous action towards God and others.
Yep.
True and fair judgment, and tzedakah, which is charity, but not just charity in the sense of throwing someone some coins, but the restoration of someone's dignity. So the very essence of self, of a person's self. So the identity that God's given them, restoring that to a position of dignity where they're seen as someone who is a reflection of God and not someone who's fallen from God.
That's great, Daniel.
That
real
tzedakah is really good. Yeah.
That's a real challenge for giving charity to people.
Yeah.
Just throwing money at them, or actually trying to help them, as you say, restore their sense of self-worth and dignity.
And that can be from how you give them money, whether it's like, take this and, you better do right with it. I know that you're a druggie, and I know that you're going to be like, I'm going to be watching you. Or it might be, knowing that they're a druggie and saying, I can give you money and that's going to sustain you for now, but let me show you another way. And then respecting that and giving that person dignity to say, no, I don't want it. And then saying, okay, but I love you anyway. It's not just what you do, but it's the heart that you do it in.
That's it. Yeah.
Very challenging, let me tell you. Yeah. So I've got two scriptures I'm going to read out. They're just really short ones, so I'll just find them now. So Psalms 106 verse 3 says, how happy are those who act justly, who always do what is right. So again, justly or acting just in a just way is what is right. And what is right is defined by the Torah, and the Torah is God's word for us. So doing what God has intended us to do is justice. And again, Proverbs 29:7. I'm just... Proverbs 29:7. The righteous understand the cause of the poor, but the wicked is unconcerned. So that's where justice is. It can be a righteous act of discipline or righteous act of correcting a wrong. It can also be a righteous act of love and mercy and realizing that a fellow has fallen and that you're there to help sort of restore things back how they should be. So it's that split. So it's not always fair. It's not always fair that while I work my hands to the bone, my neighbor is, someone's coming around and dropping off food to them. But in that moment of time, that's justice so that they can get to a position where they can also serve to the best of their ability. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's good.
Just something about the Proverbs one, Proverbs 29:7.
Yes.
Righteous understand the cause of the poor, I would say. Yep.
Yeah.
I misunderstood that. Yep. The wicked is unconcerned. Okay. Yep. Good.
I appreciate the holistic filtering to interpret this. you know, because you really need to look at the soul of a person and where they are at present, but where you want them to be, or not you want them to be, but where they can go to,
Yes.
where they can be healed to. There's that holistic view, which is so healthy to view life that way, because it stops you from being judgmental.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
It's such a empowering position for both parties, you know. It's and I love the way it says happy is the man, because when you start to fulfill these things with the right heart attitude, it's almost like healing to your own person.
Yeah.
You know? No wonder that the feeling of happiness is filtered out in your life, because it's not just that you're doing good, but there's a healing that comes that brings the byproduct of happiness.
Yeah. It's like an externalizing. So like all the things that you had in your mind that were things that were your worries sort of don't matter, because your thoughts are like outward instead of inward.
Right.
So the outward towards God and then outward towards others. This is something that God's challenged me on, so I should know from first-hand example. It's much better to live an external life where you sort of you put your thoughts and your efforts on what's in front of you and what actions to do, and instead of external where it's like echo chamber of poor self-reflection, or an echo chamber of thoughts and anxieties that bounce around. So
Yep. You only reinforce your own thoughts when you do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I'm no good. Yep. And it echoes and it continually bounces around and says, yeah, I'm no good. I'm not worth it. But if you start focusing on someone else, you clear your mind off that sort of thing. That's good.
I don't know if I'm going off topic, but there is an art.
But that's right.
There's an art of reflection, self-reflection.
Yes, yeah, reflection is important.
Yeah, reflection, not to say, oh, I'm so bad, but reflection to say, well, how can I move forward? You know, well, surely it's not as bad as it feels. Feels bad, feels really bad, but surely there's a better way out of this, you know?
And that's what Ryan's talking. Ryan, you're going to talk about mindfulness, right?
Oh, no. Well, I suppose in a roundabout way, because I was just thinking what Daniel's saying is like that kind of judgment is like feeling better by just doing what's right. We can complicate it and overthink it, but justice is that. And when you do it, regardless of how you feel, the fact is you've done it. Like, you know what I mean? As opposed to the echo chamber of, but once you help the poor, once you step into that judging for them, you actually become something by definition of what you've done.
And it goes back to what we were talking about in the Torah study. By doing those acts in the right heart intent, we're actually stepping into the heavenly realm. You know, we're connecting the physical 7-day world with the 8th day spiritual next realm. So that's why we do feel good when we actually do it, because we are experiencing that supernatural impact in our lives.
And I think to take it to like to bring it into like real world like context at the moment, like what Dan was saying about living outwardly, not inwardly at the moment, I think that's really important, given that a lot of people at the moment are in self-isolation, so there can be the tendency to look internally, and particularly like if you're in a bad position, or like struggling like financially, or if you're you know, like it's very easy to like look at yourself and be like, oh, woe is me. But I think it's important at the moment to like look outwardly and see the people around you as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Don't be forgotten just because you can't see them.
Yes.
This is another challenge. It's all the things that we've been working on through isolation. So
but
there's also a scripture in Proverbs somewhere, I can't remember, but it says, as you water, you yourself will be watered. You know, give out. It's that connection that you're talking about, Ralph.
That's right. But it's hard. The holiness and love and all that, they're characters of God. They are the very character of our God, who we are fleshing out when we aren't, as Liz saying, inwardly all the time, but are looking outward to see how we can help others and love on others. And no wonder the supernatural becomes natural and the natural becomes supernatural.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Lord's Prayer. Like, let your kingdom come, that your will be done, is not asking God, it's us telling God that we will let his kingdom come, we will do his will, as in heaven, so on earth.
Yes.
It's not like saying we will rather than us saying, God, let it happen.
Yeah. No, we want to be co-workers for sure, yeah.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, sorry, bear with me for a second.
Have I got the answer? Oh no, I've got. That's all good. I've got both Mishnahs there, so we can read them. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So how does Mishnah 2 relate to Mishnah 18? So how do they work together?
I think there's a cool wordplay between the two, because the first one in Hebrew says, where is it? It says that the world, omed, or stands, it's like the same word for amidah, like standing before God, stands up, like the stool analogy. And the other one, it says yakom, which is like to rise or to kind of get up. So one keeps, like you said, sustaining, but the other one actually ascends it to another level in that. So it's like, that's the basis level. We need those three things just to survive, just to not be destroyed. But the next one takes us into a further age, like kind of, better revelation of the first.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
That's something along the lines of that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yay.
And then there's the three words in the first one that are Torah, service of God, and deeds of kindness. And the second one, it's law, truth, and peace. And they roughly equate, or come very close to equating.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's definitely a relationship between those three concepts. And one could almost say that the first one is, the Mishnah 18 is more an expansion of, or the space that you allow yourself to do those three things, or they enhance those three things in the Mishnah 2.
Right.
Yeah, expansion's a good way to put it.
Yeah, which is what Ryan was saying. Like, one's a platform.
Yep.
That is a minimum standard, and the other one we rise to meet. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially even the placement of the Mishnahs, one being at the beginning and one being at the end. It's almost like a beginning argument, closing argument.
Yeah.
Right. True. Yeah. Right.
Very good. I like it.
What was that?
I was just saying the first one's like the foundation.
Yeah.
And then ends how we carry it through.
Yeah.
Yes.
As it endures, the world endures on.
Yeah, exactly. If the first one is the legs, then the second one, Mishnah 18, is how to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
So to sum up that bit, so true understanding of Torah. You need truth to understand Torah. Justice and righteousness leads to a moral life of worship. So you need justice, you need the law to know how to worship, and peace is found in kindness, and kindness and peace. So peace gives room for love and kindness to be enacted.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask you to give that definition again, please.
That's okay. All good. So truth allows for true understanding of the Torah. So you need truth for the Torah to make sense and for it to be real.
Yep.
You need justice and righteousness for your worship to be true. Otherwise, you get a situation of those two priests who got burnt. And you need peace for kindness to exist, or they both, I suppose, are symbiotic. They both need each other.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah. Good.
Excellent.
How would you equate in number 18, truth and a judgment of peace you should administer at your city gates? How would you equate that to today's society?
Yeah.
It's a good question. That's my next question. In a moment, we can definitely discuss that. But before I went there, I suppose I wanted to emphasize one thing, that we all think it's obvious that the Torah is good and should be used for good things. But there is a warning actually in the Pirkei Avot, and it's found in Mishnot 13, that the Torah can actually be used for bad things. So it's something for us to be mindful of, that we really do need truth, we need loving kindness, we need peace, we need acts of worship for the Torah to be used correctly. Otherwise, it can be misused for the gain of money, power, control.
And we've seen plenty of that.
Haven't we seen that in our lifetime? Yeah.
I heard one rabbi say weaponizing the Torah, like making it a weapon rather than a healing or building tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Purpose. Because the Mishnah 13, sort of at the end of it, there's more to this Mishnah, but it goes, those who crown the Torah for their own, use a crown of Torah for their own purpose will perish.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like, it's
Definitely.
the opposite of all the order we'll be talking about, when you take the Torah itself without the rest of it and just do what you think is right with it.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of that concept where Hashem says, God will not be mocked. And there's no way that the holiness and reverence and beauty of his word used in the right way, he won't allow that to be mocked. No way. Eventually, truth will prevail there. Yeah.
And it's something that can happen even unintentionally. I mean, going back to today's example in the Torah reading, these guys thought they were doing the right thing. They didn't stop and question whether it was right or wrong. They just assumed they were right, but it brought death. It didn't bring life.
Yeah.
Really being that super mindful that those legs need to be in balance. For the stool to remain stable, you need all three legs to be the same length. So you really have to live a disciplined life. So yeah. Definitely a challenge there.
Yes.
Back to that balance thing that Rav Shul was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Torah is a double-edged sword, right?
Right. Yes. In agreement, Shani.
Yeah. So that brings us to our question. Yeah, how do you apply this in our lives and current situation? So sorry, what was
the city gates, right? Is that what you said, Keith?
Yes, that's correct. The very last sentence in that number 18.
The city gates representing a place where you would have legal rulings, where they would gather and they would do contracts.
It was like the city council.
It was like
business center.
It was a business center. They would do contracts for the selling of land, purchasing of land, marriage contracts even were ratified. It was a legal place. So
you could apply that in a few different ways. You could apply it, guys, to us as a kahila, being the place where, as a community, we all gather and then we bring our issues and our any disagreements we have or anything that we want to share to the community, or where we collect our alms and our tithes and offering, tithes and zakah and things like that. You could apply it that way. Or I suppose you could apply it in a more secular sense, and wherever there's the commerce, the people and the gatherings where things happen. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably all the way from federal laws through to council bylaws and the administration of them.
Although, would the Sanhedrin play a role there? I don't know. Thoughts? Judges?
Which is part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
I think we can apply it in a modern time. This model is used a lot by like Catholics. Obviously, Christendom uses it, like Judaism uses it, but you often see it as in the Torah can be weaponized. Is that, say, for instance, there's a Catholic priest who does something wrong, rather than by their own laws, which is broken, they bring justice. They just cover it up and ship this person back to Israel or back to Rome or whatever. But a good way to make the world stand and to bring sanctification to Hashem is to partner with the local judges, even in a secular sense. Not necessarily that they carry the final verdict, but enable them to, like, a collaboration, because there's a massive benefit for people to be able to have their say and to sort things out with themselves and their communities. But then it's partnered with on a national scale, you know, I think it can have profound impact.
Yeah.
Okay. So using the law of the land where needed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think Ryan's more saying,
No.
not assuming that we're above the law of the land just because we are a community, but letting
Right.
truth and justice take place between us and the secular society as well.
Totally,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I get you. Yeah, of course. Yep.
Good question. Good answer, I mean. I suppose the thing that I've been contemplating is in the land of isolation where it's just us two and haven't really seen another face in such a long time. How do you do acts of loving kindness? How do you make peace? How do we navigate this new normal that we find ourselves in? Even with worship to God as well, because everything like topsy-turvy, so it's like finding that order and balance again.
Sure. In the new norm, yeah.
I think maybe, Ryan, when you say it's only the two of you, remember God's there as well. And if you both look into him, that should, what shall I say, smooth the path for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that's definitely something in regards to relationship between like Elise and myself. But then it's like not forgetting that there exists a world outside of our four walls, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Make peace and do justice while living in that bubble.
I think a good way is to kind of look at what kind of got us here. Like think about, I think, and this is obviously taking on more, like biting more than we can chew, but looking at how animals are treated, what produce we buy, how we treat it, how we can find and support alternatives in industry and be leaders. And then think on a smaller scale, like when the lockdown is lifted, what can I prepare to share with my community when people will be in such emotional deficit, you know?
Yeah, I think on a micro level, the other day I went for a walk and my neighbour was walking with her children and she stopped to have a distant chat with me and she said, "How are you?" And it was just this real, she said it very slowly and very pointedly toward me, "How are you?" And I thought, it took me by surprise because I thought, oh, I'm fine, thanks, fine. And then I had to then take a second to look her in the eyes and say, "How are you going?" And it's just that little simple question to your neighbour, literal neighbour, saying, "Are you okay at the moment? Is there anything that I can help you with?" Such a simple little thing, but it just really can penetrate when someone says, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
I think also, you mentioned the other day about the Care Army, Daniel. I think that's something, whether we can get involved with those, with helping there directly, or whether we find out in our own communities, in our own street or whatever, when we go for a walk,
what's out there,
you know, is someone in need of help in some way. So
then we can put it on the mitzvah board.
Yeah, which we're still waiting for, Ryan.
I know. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I've been slack. But
that's all right.
I was meant to help, but
What was that?
I was meant to help with that, but things have happened.
Yeah.
Excuses. I
But
don't know.
technology, there's lots of things we can do. You could maybe send some shopping to someone, or we have a Facebook group.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that can extend as well to like any like spiritual needs. So if anyone needs someone to talk to or someone to pray with, like we're all phone calls away.
Valid. Yep. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I like it.
I think it's also, there's a real big time for us to be the light in the darkness, because there are so many people, so many scary things and ideas out there. I know this is kind of the topic at the moment, but this whole thing of conspiracy theories, they were starting in, I think it was Denmark, to throw fire bombs at communication towers, even though they didn't have 5G capabilities, out of fear. And UK as well, they were attacking these telecommunication towers, which is probably going to destroy the regular internet they have, which will totally sever their communication with everyone, just because they're so motivated by fear. And I guess we don't really experience it because we haven't seen meat trucks filled with, unfortunately, dead bodies, or know the local skating rink is full of dead bodies from coronavirus, because we're so blessed, Baruch Hashem. But, for them, those fears are real, and coronavirus is a real plague. But for us, it's more a mild inconvenience to say.
Valid. Yeah,
so just positivity, sharing good information, just reminding people what you can do to stay mentally healthy, and take time to meditate, sing a song you like, play music, do some painting, write a story,
and be positive, as you say, to people around you. Don't share those things with others if you don't have the proper background to it. The other day I got a join a group, or like a group. What was it? Peace for the World Against 5G Network, from another believer outside of our fellowship, from an old fellowship, and that's just the sort of thing I don't want to get involved in. I know there's problems with 5G in terms of health to birds and all that. So I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. We just need to be sensible about how we approach these things.
Definitely, yeah, and think about your intent before you if you really have to share something like that, even though I would recommend not, think about your intent behind it and what the repercussions would be. Are you spreading this sense of fear amongst people?
If we need to have faith in Hashem at the end of the day, and if we have faith to believe in healing or whatever else, we need to have faith to believe that He will protect us as well. His word is true, and when we do as we did Wednesday night a week and a bit ago, we did the Pesach. We trust that every year that Hashem will be covering us, will be protecting us, will be our protection, our comfort. So we have the Ruach HaKadosh, who's also our comforter and healer and counselor. So we are well and truly equipped to be protected during this time. We don't need to be concerned about the things that other people are concerned about. We actually need to bring them into the truth that we know.
Well, when you consider that to be a big blanket that covers us, and in the underneath that covering, we're living our lives, and we'll come across mini crisis or mini situations that we struggle as individuals, but still the covering is over you. So there is a way out. And if you're attuned to that, I can only reflect in my own life in the times where I've had sincere tragedy, and I look and I think, oh God, you were there. You really were there.
Every time.
Every single time. The covering was there. His hand was there, So I think we just have to be so aware of the fact that we're not as alone as we think we are,
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, without being hyper spiritual about it, we need.
No.
There's a sensibility that we need to stay with as well.
Yeah.
You don't go running out on the road and going, oh no, car's going to hit me, and bang, you get hit by a car because
Is it a
where was
bus?
God?
Where's the
Oh, a
bus?
The laws of physics are still God's laws.
That's right.
Same as the laws of nature, they're still God's laws. So we have to treat them with as much respect as any spiritual law that God
Exactly.
True.
Totally.
Something
while
that
you
has kept me saner in this last few weeks is actually the counting of the Omer.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been
while you were talking, I just thought of something that my mother hung on my wall when I was a kid. And I was only, I can remember it all my life, from the time I was small till I was bigger. And it's a poem called Think Big. Of course, it's not religious, but it has good words. It says, think big and your deeds will grow. Think small and you'll fall behind. Think that you can and you will. It's all in the state of mind.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I find these days people's state of mind is going totally haywire when there's nothing to go haywire about.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
think, quite frankly, that there's more good being done with this virus than there's harm.
Amen.
I think you're so right, Keith.
So agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, the world is coming to a point where it's at a beginning of a potential kindness revolution, where the idea of being kind and the idea of like the healer being the thing we look to rather than the politician. We have the opportunity to be at the head of that sort of movement.
Yes.
Direct it towards like the true healer rather than like resist against it. So there's definitely a movement that's happening that we I think we should jump on board and be the head of.
Yeah.
Totally.
I agree.
I mean, it's so simple. Like we got some Uber Eats takeaway from a vegan restaurant, and they were so happy. They were like, "Thank you so much. Business has been so slow." And you actually begin to build a rapport with people because people more than ever appreciate your patronage.
Yeah.
And just by being seeing them and saying, hey, you know, your worth, your food, what you do is still valuable to my society, where no one comes to your new fancy restaurant anymore, it just gives people a sense of well-being, because people, particularly I guess if you're a chef or whatever, people are connected to what they do.
Yeah.
So it's a good way for us to honor. But I was also thinking, like, there's so many good ways we can spitball, as in how we can do charity and how we can do things, and then we can have like we can write down almost a halakha of what we do. Like, this is how we do it in COVID restrictions. We're doing this, we're doing that, and we've got a new way of doing this. Or, you know, here's a new product we're promoting from a local person who has a greener solution or something, you know?
Yeah, yep.
Plenty of that on the internet.
A lot of work we can do there, I suppose before we close, we should probably look at the flip side as well and ask, how can we study the Torah and worship God in this moment of isolation and crisis as well? Because you would think that, yes, we've got more time on our hands, but there tends to be, when there's too much time, sometimes time can become very irrelevant. It's not a concept anymore.
And you don't make the best of it, right?
Yes.
Best use of it.
Hours slip away so easily when you don't need to do anything or go anywhere. So it's how to make sure that we're like doing the things we need to do in regards to our relationship with God as well.
This was something, discipline was covered in last night's meditation on the
counting of the Omer.
Uh-huh.
Thanks,
Cool.
Elise. Yes. Yeah. I think responsible time management is definitely something that now that I'm home a lot, I'm trying. Some days are better than others, and which is pleasing because it means there's some sort of forward motion. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, you know, how you divide up your hours between food is really, you know, what's going to make it or break it. You know, how you designate portions of your day to achieve either reading the Bible or writing a story or whatever it is that you're doing an assignment. Good time management. Yeah.
This is where the kavana we spoke about comes into action, because kavana is about a set order, but it's also about an aim. Like, if we do like something, even our like these musar, these ethical studies, but our aim is to get to a certain goal. Like, this will have a use when or by this time I want to know how I can implement XYZ. As hard as that is, it kind of helps you keep track of time. You know, time pressure is a good and bad thing.